Hello, I'm JAMILA Musayeva, an international social etiquette consultant and the author of 2 books, Etiquette, The Least You Need to Know, and Afternoon Tea Etiquette. Those of you that have been following me here on YouTube as well as an Instagram page have requested me to do a video about books that have influenced me or do a review on books that I'm reading. So I decided to launch this video. This is going to be the first one, and if you like it, please do let me know in the comment section below, and I'll continue doing a series where I'm going to be reviewing the books that I've read. My review of the book is going to be very different from other reviews. I'm not going to be summarizing the book in any way. I'm not going to address all the contents or everything that was covered in the book. I'm just going to talk about some of the lessons that I have personally learned from reading the book. Again, the lessons that I've taken away can be very different from the ones that you have taken away, but I want to do this series where I'll be sharing with you some of the lessons that I learned from each and every book that I'm reading. For those that have been following me for a while now, you know that I'm a part-time teacher. I teach etiquette as well as business to high school students, and as such I firmly believe in the importance of financial literacy, and I believe that it's so important to educate young generation about money and finances and equip them with the knowledge that they need to have once they are out after school and dealing with real life. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to the book that I recently read. It's called The Psychology of Money. It's an international bestseller. It's by Morgan Housel. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And the reason I actually bought this book, it caught my attention while on shelf, is because the word the psychology of money is what actually made me interested in the book. Before going into the lessons that I've learned, the first thing I want to point out is the reason it's called The Psychology of Money is because the author believes that being financially successful doesn't require you to have, technical knowledge about finances, but it's more so requires you to have the right set of soft skills. And to support his point, he says that oftentimes the reason people go into debt is not because they didn't have enough education or knowledge about the interest rates, but it was rather the feeling of greed and desire to make more money that led them to get into that debt. So it's interesting to understand how accumulating wealth has to do a lot with our soft skills rather than with our technical knowledge. So here are the 6 lessons that I have personally learned from reading this book. I want to reiterate this again. The points that I've taken away might be very different from the points that you're taking away from reading the same book. But these are just the 6 lessons that I have decided to take away from reading this book. Lesson number 1 is understanding that every single one of us has a very different, unique experience with money, with therefore a very unique relationship with money. And when I read this, I was like, this is so true. It is interesting how our relationship or our experience with money actually defines or forms our mindset about earning money and accumulating wealth and spending money. He argues that our relationship and experience with money is based on our upbringing, background, country where we grew up, the economic situation of the country, the financial situation of our family, perhaps even sometimes the profession of our parents, and their mindset can influence us as well. It's interesting because when I was reading this, I thought of my parents who grew up in Soviet times, and they saw the Soviet Union fall apart, and the money that was worth a lot overnight became worthless. It was just a piece of paper. Whereas someone of the same generation who grew up in the US, where things have been more or less stable and they've had dollars forever, so obviously it would have influenced their general attitude towards money, and understanding what kind of relationship you have with money is crucial in the way you are handling your money. Second lesson that I've learned is that luck and risk are siblings. What he means by that is that let's say you're taking on a project and you have a couple of negotiations to make. You make one bad negotiation. It doesn't have to define the whole project altogether. So it might be a very successful project in the long run, but maybe you didn't get lucky, it was a risky, or it wasn't really a good, little negotiation that you had there. Or the other way around, you might get a successful deal, but then in the long run it might be a very lousy project. So understanding that is very important. And what I like when he tells that, not a single investor or anyone successful that in this world has done everything right. Every single one of us have done one bad decision or maybe multiple bad decisions, but again, that one bad decision doesn't have to define your whole life or your whole project or your whole work. And I actually thought about Amazon and how they launched their phones. That was such a bad project, but you can't say that Amazon altogether is a bad, project, idea, and business altogether. And distinguishing between, being successful in something and failing long run, or being, failing in a little steps, but then succeeding in the long run is crucial. He says that an investor can make wrong decisions half of the time, but still make a fortune. So for you guys that are watching this video, if you're doing whatever project you're taking on, just because you made a couple of bad projects or a couple of bad, deals, doesn't mean that in the long run you're not going to be successful. And that's important to remember. To support this point, Morgan brings an example of Walt Disney, and I want you to remember this example forever. Walt Disney actually produced so many expensive cartoons that their first studio went bankrupt. By mid-1930s, they've produced over 400 cartoons. All of them were super expensive. And actually, it was only one cartoon. And can you guess which one? I'm going to take a little pause. Maybe you can write in the comment section below. What is the one cartoon that saved Walt Disney? And the answer is Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. That cartoon was the one that earned them $8 million in the first 6 months and basically took Walt Disney from here to here. Lesson number 3, which I think is so important and so relevant for today, is feeling and knowing when enough is enough. And that applies actually to everything in life. I don't think it's only about money, it's just about anything in life. It's about our relationship with food, it's about relationship with things, material things that we surround ourselves, houses, cars, and all of that. And what he says is that modern capitalism has been amazing at generating wealth, but also at generating envy. This is a point where things get very dangerous for us. And literally, I mean dangerous because it can push us to a point where we never wanted to start with in the first place. So he says that sometimes the desire to get more and more, our will to get more, increases our ambition faster than our sense of satisfaction. What he means by that, and I want to emphasize this point again because I think it's so important, it's such a thin line between, when your desire to get more things makes you a lot more ambitious or faster, increase your ambition a lot faster than your sense of satisfaction from what you have achieved. So, for example, you get yourself a new car, instead of feeling and sensing that satisfaction for, months and years of using it, you feel that instant satisfaction and then you're off to get a new car, a different car. And I think it gets in such a negative loophole. It brings us into such a negative mentality. It deteriorates not only our physical health, but also a lot our mental health, because we're not stopping and appreciating what we have, and rather we're just running and running to make sure that we get more and more and more without ever feeling gratitude or satisfaction from what we have achieved. So understanding when enough is when you stop before you regret. So there's a point in everyone's life when they reach a pinnacle, and then when you reach that pinnacle, if you push harder, you're going to fall down. And it's actually interesting to observe that in a lot of graphs in economics as well. There's always, and also in a storyline, in any story, there's always a top, the pinnacle point, and then if you push more, you're gonna fall down. So understand when you've reached that pinnacle point, and always remember to be grateful and remember to be satisfied with what you have achieved, and actually compliment yourself on your achievements and understand when enough is enough. Lesson number 4 is about compounding, and a similar idea to that is that drop by drop an ocean is formed, and it necessarily doesn't only apply to money but also about anything in life. So if you, let's say, you want to become a good pianist, you have to play every single day. If you want to learn a language, you need to practice every day. So the same goes with compounding, but it's more about saving, and it means saving on a regular basis for a really long period of time. So here, an important element in being able to accumulate wealth is to save money and do so consistently. Morgan argues that you have to resist the temptations of spending money on something that you like or whatever is going on in the economic market at the moment. With the money that you're meant to save, you have to save it and put it aside and not be tempted to spend it regardless of what's going on. An interesting example that he brings to support this point is an example of Warren Buffett, who actually started investing his money only when he was 10 years old, and by the age of 30 his net worth was $1 million. And Morgan argues if Warren was just an average kid spending money on going out, eating out, buying coffee, yes, that adds up to your monthly bill, and all the other, items, luxury items he would be purchasing, then he wouldn't be able to accumulate that much. And actually he argues that by the age of 30, his net worth would have been $25,000 only. He also notes that a good investment is not the one that gives you the highest possible return in a short period of time, because that happens rarely, once in a lifetime, and usually such high earnings in a short period of time lead to tragic stories. And when I was reading this, I thought about all the kind of lottery winners that win a large sum of money in a short period of time, so overnight they become billionaires. Usually these people spend that money so fast on things that they've always desired to get that they're left with nothing. So I've never heard of any lottery winner who became a millionaire or billionaire in the long run. So usually those stories lead to tragic endings. So what truly matters is earning a decent return on your investment over a period of time and saving that repeatedly and consistently. That is what is going to bring you wealth. Lesson number 5 is understanding the difference between making money and keeping it. These are completely different notions, and when I read it, I was like, whoa, this is so true. He says that in order to be able to make money, you have to be able to take risks. As we know, entrepreneurs and business people have to be able to take risks and be able to go out and believe in their idea, but they also have to remain optimistic about their adventure, about their idea, about their business. But keeping the money actually involves doing everything the opposite. You have to be frugal, so you have to be very careful with your money, but you also have to be fearful that the money that you have earned is going to be taken away from you. So basically, making it involves you taking risks and being very optimistic, and then keeping it involves you being frugal and you being fearful and kind of pessimistic about what's going to happen. I think every once in a while, everyone is given an opportunity in their lifetime to be able to earn money. And some people were able to earn it and some were not. And some were able to earn it but not keep it, whereas others were able to earn and keep it. So what I'm trying to say is almost everyone is given an opportunity once in their lifetime to earn money, but not a lot of people can actually keep it. You also probably know examples from the people that you know that were very well off and earned so much money and then lost everything. And that is such an important lesson to remember, because we tend to believe when we're making money that we're going to be successful like that all our lives. We're going to be making a lot of money all the time. It's always going to be up and up and up. But truth is, life in everything has its ups and its downs. And sometimes when the ups are really high, the downs can be really, really low as well. So understanding this is important, because when you're making money, remember that one day it can all be taken away from you. Therefore, it's important to compound in order to not to lose what you have been earning while you're earning it. So to be able to save is an important element in accumulating wealth. The final and the 6th lesson for today from this book is that understanding the difference between the term rich and the term wealth. It's two different, completely opposite understandings. Rich is something that everyone gets to see. It's the car that you buy, it's the houses that you buy, it's the luxury items that you wear. It's everything out there in people's face. They can see that you're rich. But wealth is everything hidden. It's something no one knows about. It's the money that you haven't still spent. It's the money that is in your savings account. It's the money that is in the bank that you haven't touched. The value of wealth is that it gives you an opportunity to buy things that are bigger than what you could afford at this moment. And what I mean by that is, say you have, $50,000 extra. Instead of spending it on all the luxury items and showing people that you're rich, you could have actually put it into your bank account and accumulated, saved it. And in 5 years, if you continue accumulating like that, you can afford to buy a plane, let's say, or a yacht or something bigger. So it gives you the opportunity to buy something bigger than you, rather than if you were to spend it right now at this moment. Which is why I think it's so difficult for people to understand what wealth means, because it's so hidden. We don't get to see what people's wealth is, because it's all in the bank accounts and we don't get to see it. Whereas people that are, showering themselves with luxury items, buying cars and houses and things like that, we get to see that they are rich and we want to be like them, we want to be rich. But oftentimes, actually, the wealthiest people are the one that you would never be able to tell by the way they're dressed, by the way that they are, carrying themselves, and things that they're wearing and things that they're driving and living. Sometimes it's so hidden that it's very difficult to understand, and it's important to know the difference between the two. In order to be wealthy, you have to be able to save and compound consistently. To be rich, you just have to be able to earn money and spend it right away. So this was my takeaway lessons from the book, The Psychology of Money. I really recommend you to read it on your own as well, because I think the lessons that I've learned are going to be very different from the things that you're probably going to be learning. And I want to reread this book in a couple of years again to see if it's the same way that I'm taking away the same lessons, or it's going to be different this time. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that you find these lessons useful and you can apply some of these concepts into your daily lives. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.